Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Today I've got a special guest on the channel. COLRED, welcome to the channel. How are you doing?
I am doing great, Hell Hades. Thanks for having me on the channel. I'm really excited for this.
Awesome. Look, I've just come away from doing another collab COLRED's channel. I'm actually going to link that down below. Basically doing this kind of like, I just explain it quickly. It's been super fun to do, but explain the concept and explain what you're trying to do on your channel for the next kind of month or so.
Sure, absolutely. So for the month of March, we are doing a bracket style tournament, a single elimination tournament for all of the best epic champions in Raid. It's modeled on a sporting event here in the US called March Madness, which is the Collegiate Basketball National Championship. So basically, we put the top 64 epics into a fight, and we're going to have one winner. It's going to go over the course of the month, and the viewers can vote on the outcomes, and they can also do their own bracket as a prediction and compete against the content creators who are our analysts, of which Hell Hades is one of them. We just finished our video today, so that should be up, hopefully, in the next day or two.
Yeah, awesome. It was actually a lot of fun, and it was really challenging. And I guess it kind of comes back to what we're going to talk about today, because today's video, we're going to talk about free-to-play life. You know, I'm in the midst of a free-to-play challenge right now. And COLRED, you've been a free-to-player, as far as I'm aware, for your whole Raid journey, right? Have you always been free-to-play?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been free to play the entire time, and I've played a lot of accounts. I still have my main account, but I'm free to play on all the accounts.
Yeah, yeah. So it'd be good to get the perspective of, you know, how you feel about the game now versus when you first sort of started into Raid, and you know how that's kind of changed along the way. So, but yeah, it's super relevant to the video we've just recorded, because basically what we're looking at is epics from a free-to-play perspective. You know, how much value do they bring? And I've got to say, for me, you know, as the analyst, it was really tough. You know, it was really tough kind of like weighing up these choices of, you know, two great epics, one of which maybe is a specialist for late game accounts versus someone who's more like a generalist who can really give you value in a ton of different areas.
I do think that can be, you know, the perspective on that can really change depending on how long you've been in the game. So even as a free-to-play player at 3 months and a free-to-play player at a year will have a different perspective on the same champions. So it's not, you know, it's difficult for everybody. It doesn't really matter where you are. When you're talking about the 64 best epics in the game, every choice is a tough choice.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. And like you say, it's so relevant to your account right now as well. If you're really like honing it in, I'm thinking my free to play right now, I've pulled some good epics. I pulled a DIDNT, who has been really impactful for me. You know, I started with a Mordecai, who really paired super well with Rathalos. I know that I think you picked the same starter epic in this challenge. Yeah. And then there's been epics along the way, which normally I would say, don't bother building this champion out. But in the specific moment of an early account pulling a specific epic, well, Juliana for me was a no-brainer in terms of, you know, she's going to give me clan boss damage right now. It's really relevant. She's also a good pairing for Rathalos as well. So, you know, the dynamic of what you need for your account at that moment in time could be very different from the next player.
Absolutely. And I think what's really interesting about this challenge, which has changed my perspective from every other free-to-play account I've ever run, is the time limit. Sure. Because there are some champions who would be very valuable later on, and you would probably prioritize, but you're not going to get a later on. You don't get past 90 days. You need value today, and they need to make progress tomorrow. And so sometimes you'll take a champion that might not be in the long run the best decision, but for the 90-day challenge is absolutely a no-brainer, like in your case, Juliana.
Yeah. So I guess from your perspective then, how have you found the challenge overall? You know, you've run a number of different free-to-play accounts, some which are long-term, and then this one's going to be a shorter-term kind of, maybe you'll run it longer, up to you obviously, but this one for the challenge mode is kind of like a 3-month account. Yeah, have you found it enjoyable, or has it been stressful, you know, as a content creator as well?
It's been both. Yeah, absolutely. It's been super enjoyable. It's been stressful. It provides great content. A lot of people are excited about it. I did your challenge last year. I was part of that. And I think the the great thing about that was it felt very similar to all of my other free-to-play accounts in that I knew I had a pathway. I had a kind of a mentality or a formula for how I was going to develop that account. And it was really fun. But over time, it seemed like the audience for that content kind of died away. Not everybody continued to play those accounts. Because honestly, as a free-to-play player, when you get to that mid-game grind, it's just not as fun. And unless you're really committed to it, I think a lot of players leave the game at that point. And this challenge doesn't face that problem, right? You're not going to get deep into the mid-game grind. So it's really like, can you even get to Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss in 3 months? Can you get to Gold 5 in 6 weeks or 10 weeks? You know, how far can you get your Great Hall? How can you clear, you know, how many floors of Doom Tower can you clear? So I found it a very interesting twist on my previous experiences with free-to-play. Very fun, absolutely fun. And maybe the most fun part of it for me has been the team aspect. Because YST and Team Shadowverse are very active in Discord. We're talking all the time. We're helping each other create builds for our various dungeon challenges. You know, we're celebrating polls that normally you wouldn't even care about.
Yeah, that's one of the best things, right?
Yeah.
That's actually the fun part. When you pull a champion, I guess this is the same thing with any new account. You pull a champion and normally you might be like, this is just useless. But when you don't have many resources and you're fresh in, suddenly, like in our groups, we've had the same thing. Someone will pull an epic and they're like, this is what I've got. And I'm like, that's a great epic. For right now, that is going to be a fantastic epic. That's really going to help your account. And, you know, you just got this different perspective when, like you say, when you're in this kind of like short window, when you know that you can't use legendaries as well. I found that that's a game changer because suddenly, you know, we mentioned it on our collab earlier, actually. There's only so many burn champions, for example. So if you know you're not going to be using legendaries in a challenge, well, suddenly there's some epics which really rise in value because they've got a skill that not many epics have or not many rares have. So yeah, it's definitely a bit of a different dynamic and twist. Have you been able to kind of like get in the mix of any of the legendary champions that you could earn?
I have. In fact, I think I was perfectly positioned for White Queen and Korra. I was perfectly positioned. And I don't know if you know this, but 3 days after the challenge started, I got COVID.
Oh, I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, and so the first month of the challenge was really hard, and I was on pace to acquire my White Queen and Korra. I was really excited about it. And, you know, I don't know if you have COVID, but you kind of can make some weird decisions. And I made a little bit of a misjudgment, and I missed a timer by 2 hours, and I lost 5 fragments, and that was the end of it. I just failed the fusion. I should have pulled her up. I was disappointed for my viewers. They were all rooting for me. But, you know, that happens sometimes. And so I had to pivot. And oddly enough, I got a very lucky turn of events where I was actually able to win my champion training tournament for Nair Gigante Archer. Ooh, so I actually have Archer on the account.
Yeah, that's huge.
And she is working her magic already. She's incredibly powerful. She's going to get all my resources. She's going to be the cornerstone of my account for the rest of the 90 days. Absolutely.
Yeah, so actually, when you pull someone like an Archer, I mean, one of the things which I lack is control, like controlling enemy waves. You know, probably the best I've got is someone like Luria doing an AoE freeze on a long cooldown. You know, I don't have books to throw, but yeah, a 50% on a 4-turn cooldown. If you then think about the Archer throwing out, I mean, provoke for what is it? Is it 3-turn provoke? I think it's 3-turn, isn't it? Yeah,
it's 3-turn in Hydra, I believe, but it's only 2 turns.
Oh, is it 2-turn normally? Right, okay.
I think that's what it is, yeah.
Yeah. But still, it's huge. Yeah, absolutely huge. Damn, that's a So were you absolutely like pushing for that, or was it a bit of a lucky set of circumstances with the group, or, you know, how did that play out?
It has to be lucky, but, you know, there's that old saying where it's like luck is where opportunity and preparation meet, or something like that.
Yeah,
you know,
I like that.
And so I think I was looking, you of course are watching your tournament, hoping that you get a potential, you know, chance to get the Archer. Yeah. And so the first day, nobody made a real move. Somebody got up to like 6,000 or 7,000 kind of quickly and then hovered there. And so I just decided I was just going to work my way through champion training because I needed more 6-star champions anyway. And by the last 24 hours, really nobody had even hit the 10,000 mark, and you needed a minimum of 12,500. So I thought to myself, maybe nobody is even going for Archer, so I need to start pushing. And so I got myself to the Legendary Tome, got the 10,000 points, and kind of just waited. And then I did a late night stream. I started streaming at like 1:30 a.m. and did the last 3 hours with my viewers, which was great because we had 140 people in the stream and like 100 people were going for Archer, so it was just total chaos. It was every 3 minutes, somebody was like, I got him, or I got sniped, and it was really fun. Oh, and luckily nobody even made a move in my tournament. I think the second place was about 8,500 points. So it was a pretty comfortable win for me. Yeah. And I'm sure that did not happen in many cases.
No, I've seen in the Discord, I've seen a few people that said they picked up the Archer. I probably ended up on a similar amount of points to what you did, but I had someone in my group that just blew away, 30,000 points, which is what I would expect. I don't expect, as you say, it comes down to, just a little bit luck of the group, but you also then need to go and get the job done. So, and that's nice actually. So I guess you mentioned about not picking up those fragments for Ancora. Mm-hmm. Are there any other kind of like what you class as big mistakes you've made along the way, given that you're a knowledgeable free-to player in this competition?
In terms of mistakes, I think I mentioned earlier, like I'm not 100% convinced that the Mordecai Rathalos combo, like going with Mordecai as my promo code, was really the best way to go. It's starting to pay dividends now, but we are pretty far into the challenge. Yeah. And early on, I definitely think that Deacon or Miscreated Monster would have been the better choice. I think the other thing that maybe I've learned from this is you have to decide whether or not you are going to commit to getting as many 6 stars as possible, or if you are going to hold on to your odds and ends and work on faction crypts, because you can't really do both. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? If you're getting a lot of epics, but they're not like playable epics, those are either 4-star chickens or maybe 5-star chickens, level them up, or you build them and you start working on your faction crypts. And I decided to go with the faction crypts. And unfortunately for me, it did not pay a lot of dividends again early. And I think now it's starting to help me out a little bit more, and it might help me going forward. But normally I do that because you want the forge materials, you want the perception gear. Yeah, and I just didn't have much luck with the gear. And so I don't know if it was a mistake, but it was a gamble and it didn't pay off.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I was playing this with the view of I'm going out fast to earn points, and I've been in the mix. Honestly, I've been in the mix. I've had quite a lot of 6 stars. I think what am I up to here? 3, 6, 8 6 stars, and I've been kind of like pushing that to this point. But I do know that if I was playing this account long term, and I might do anyway, actually, I'm now getting to the point where it's like, well, I need my clan boss team to start to represent at least Nightmare. So I need to start to get the right tools for that to happen. And really that then enables me to start to progress in other areas. But when we got this fusion, for example, coming up now, well, this fusion is insane. This fusion would be insane for any account, right? So, but for us, when we've got a month left of the challenge, if I use all of my resources on this fusion and try and scrape it like I did with the last one, well, that's pretty much going to wipe me out of the point scoring here, because there's areas where I know that I can just get a load of points. I've just started to do Nightmare Campaign, for example. And with Nightmare Campaign, because a lot of people have done this already, they've already got those points in the bag. Well, that's just points that I can use to catch up on other players. So it is weird. It's weird playing this as a competition because you do things that you just wouldn't normally do.
I agree. Yeah, there are decisions that are good for the competition that would be bad for the health of the account.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit of a strange place to be. And I do think it comes down to a little bit, whether you're going to continue to play the account or not. Maybe you're going to give away the account, or, somebody's going to get value out of it. But I did notice there in your roster, you have a Selenia. You pulled a Selenia, so did I. And I think that's a pretty good pull from a rare, because now you can also pair her with Rathalos in some other content as well.
Yeah, so I leveled mine almost straight away to 5-star, actually, because I just felt like the kit was so strong. But again, Selenia is probably just a slightly later game champion, even as a rare. She's actually, her kit really starts to come into its own around now, where I'm starting to push up, towards level 20 dungeons.
Right.
I'm starting to try and find teams that are going to do a good job on Hydra. That type of areas where she really starts to work. And probably to get her to work in those areas, you need her to be 6-star. So you have these tough challenges. It's like, well, am I going to push her to 6-star? If it's for the long-term health of the account, I probably should. But for right now, I don't know if I should. Yeah, it's been.
But on the flip side, you have access to way more rare tomes early in the game than you do legendary tomes. So it's if you're not building 6-star rares, you're leaving a lot of power in the on the bench.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So there's also that consideration, just choosing which rares you want to run up, and do you camp them at 5 stars? Do you take them to 6 stars? Because again, you're only going to get so many 6 stars. Yeah. But you can't book out all the epics. There's no way to do it.
Have you had someone that you've used in this challenge that perhaps you haven't used a lot before that's really been great for your account? Is there anyone that's kind of come out, you thought, you know what, they've actually done a good job for me here?
That's an interesting question. Now, I'm not in the same position you are. I think I only have 4 level 60s, and I'm leveling up my 5th. I've had a couple of champions that I've thought about and kind of gone in halfway and then bailed out a little bit, and I'm not sure if it was a good call. One was Hyria from the High Elves faction. Yeah, she's a rare that I considered making my clan boss damage dealer. She can also help you in Fire Knight because she's got an ally attack, she's got a triple hitter, and she's got some poisons. So I was moving in that direction, and then I got distracted by somebody else that I pulled. So there was definitely that champion. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else who I feel really has helped me out. And obviously, once you pull Archer, all the other considerations go away.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
I don't think so. I think I will say, though, in this particular playthrough, I've gotten more value out of Mordecai than I realized was in the champion.
Yeah.
I'm still not sure that he was he's not a replacement for Deacon. He's not a replacement for Miscreated Monster, but he does have some relatively good turn meter control. He's got a turn meter on his A1 that can, you can drop turn meter on the A1. You've got turn meter fill on the A2. You've got the AoE HP burn. But the really nice thing about the AoE HP burn is it's also an increased attack.
Yeah.
So he's a really good setup in an arena. And so I've been getting every last drop of value I can get out of that champion. And I've built him extremely fast. And so he, I don't know if he's the perfect champion, but since he's the champion I got, I'm using him as much as I can.
Yeah, I will say with him, that increased attack buff, it's actually surprised me a lot. So when I got Juliana, I thought, well, I'm going to take him out of my clan boss team now because I've got the burn replaced. The burn's coming in through Juliana. Didn't need the... and Mordecai, well, his turn meter control doesn't do anything in clan boss. So I was thinking, he's got to come out and Juliana goes in. And I dropped him out of the team and I put in my speed manipulator in Golden Reaper. And I did considerably less damage by taking that increased attack out of my team. That's been a big eye-opener for me, actually, as well. It's same thing as you've said there. That buff across your team, I guess Rathalos is benefiting from that increased attack a lot as well. But early on, I'd rather have the buff than that extra speed, actually. Because it just, you're doing a lot of work through hits rather than having this kind of real long-lasting team. So, yeah, that was really interesting. I also found for me, Dithy has been a lot of fun. It's a really fun epic to get, and I'd never really used him before. I kind of knew his kit, but I never really used him. So he was super fun. And I decided to build out Golden Reaper instead of High Khatun this account, which is, I'd say that's maybe in hindsight is a mistake. She's a good champion. The reason I went with Golden Reaper is because of an AoE decreased attack, which helped me on stuff like Ice Golem. I will say, as a speed champion, as a turn meter controller, I just feel like High Khatun is just better. Like High Khatun is a really, really good epic champion that you get for free, and I think people think it's a lower value champion because you get her early on for free, and she's actually really good in this job.
It's funny you mentioned High Khatun because I just went through all of the ratings and I rated 190 different epics. I checked the reviews. And high Khatun's ratings, go ahead and check them right now. They're not good.
Oh,
They're
really?
not good at all. You know, if you look at her arena offense 4.6, look at the rest of them.
Yeah, under 4 for a few of these. But that's
and
criminal, the Fire Knight rating
right 3.6 at Fire Knight. She's got a slow on her A1. She boosts turn meter and speeds up your entire team. She's very usable in Fire Knight. And I think maybe what's happened is people have started to, you know, they read these reviews and they're like, oh, I don't need to build her. She's not that good. When honestly, there are very few epics in a normal free-to-play account that are going to be as valuable at that point. You know, she's got that aura. I mean, you've replaced the aura, right? Because White Queen and Korra has the same aura, I think, for speed battle. Yeah. So you don't need that. But if you don't have Deacon, that's the other thing about not having Deacon. Not having a speed aura on your team is so like you don't even know. You don't even know how much you're giving away until you don't have one. And then you're like, why is my team always too slow? It's like because 19% is a big difference. Plus the turn meter fill, plus the increased speed buff. It's she's a very good champion. I think she's still criminally underrated.
Yeah, you actually you're right. You really start to notice not having that aura when you're presented with the challenge of Doom Tower early on. And you see people are beating the Griffin, you're thinking, how are you beating up that Griffin? Like it is absolutely destroying me. But it's because people have got that extra speed and they're rotating through their abilities just that bit faster. They're getting the extra hits in with the heals and and when you've got a DPS race like the Griffin, well, you know, an extra 19 or so speed per champion, plus you know the way that kind of like scales up. It's big. It's big.
I think the other thing people disregard about her kit is how much turn meter manipulation is actually in the kit apart from the turn meter fill and speed boost. Because her A1 has a chance to slow. Her A3 is an AoE decrease turn meter. Like, it's not a huge chance, but it books up to a 75% chance. It's not a huge amount. It's 15%. But sometimes that's all you need to get your team to go first. And if your team goes first, that wave is toast. So
for sure.
She's really, really great on both ends in terms of boosting the speed of your team and then helping you just control the speed of the boss or the wave that you're up against.
Yeah, no, I agree. As you say, criminally underrated. Like some of these ratings are actually shocking. Like if I was going again, I think I would build her out instead of my Reaper. You know, I've always kind of thought like Reaper's kind of good. And I feel like if she had a speed aura, then she would be in the same sort of camp. But just having that accuracy in faction crypts, it really weakens the champion comparison to other champions doing the same sort of job.
Yeah.
But anyway, look, we've got a month to go on the challenge. So I guess just to round off things here, how are you feeling with the kind of like, you know, the month ahead? Do you feel like you and your team can sort of, you know, punch up and get back amongst the kind of like top 2, top 3?
If you check the score, I think we actually are.
I thought you were down in 4th, but
I think we've punched our way back up.
Oh, damn! You're actually top. Okay,
so there we are. Yeah, we just
passed
your team.
That is actually mad. Right. I thought you were 4th place. Last time I looked, you guys were in 4th, so you have flown up. Wow, and you're leading the way in the team as well. Damn, that's impressive stuff.
Just today, I've squeezed past YST, who's actually been absolutely fantastic. He's been our rock the whole time. But honestly, I think what's happening is just really good team synergy. The guys are great. We're helping each other out. And as a result, we are just kind of all improving faster than we might on our own, which like we were talking about before has been the best part of this process or this experience. I don't know where we stand on the sort of the one-time only points that we can't really improve from here on out. So it may be simply that we have collected more of those points than some other teams. But I know that in terms of my account, at least, there's a lot of progress left. We still have the Ice Golem Challenge. We've still got the Clan Boss Challenge. We've still got the Hydra Challenge. And I'm looking forward to those. And I feel personally like Archer's going to help me out in Hydra. You know, that's going to be a massive Hydra boost. So I know I've got progress still to make on the account, and I bet some of the other guys feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, how have you been doing personally? So I've not really been tracking how everyone else is doing in areas. Is there certain areas of the game that you did like really focus in and have kind of like been, you know, top in the leaderboards or in the top areas?
I haven't been in too many top 10s. I didn't push really hard early on because I got sick. and so I wasn't really playing as much. But I feel like I'm probably in the next batch just below the top 10 in most places. I'm probably somewhere between like 11 and 20. Yeah. And
sure.
And so I do feel like that. Also, we get bonus points, so that factors in. We get the bonus points from the challenges, from the monthly stuff. So like that doesn't all show up on the leaderboards all the time. And yeah, so I feel like the one leaderboard I was on is the speed leaderboard. Early on, I had a very fast apothecary.
I just saw you.
So current fastest champion. But I don't know if it's still up there. I think it's the third one down. Current fastest champion. Down one. Right there.
So yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm still number 8 at 251. But I've had that 251 for like 3 or 4 weeks. So I was very fast early on. And I think that helped in terms of helping my team take down like kind of all content, right? Because you get a fast apothecary, that helps you in Dragon, that helps you in Spider, that helps you in Doom Tower, that helps you in Clan Boss, it helps you everywhere. And so if there were one tip I was going to give a free-to-play player, it's like if you can focus on speed early on in a speed booster like High Khatun or Apothecary, you definitely want to do it.
Yeah, I've still not pulled Apothecary in this free-to-play series actually, which is usually I've got him very early on. It's almost alien to me that I haven't, but I guess
you've got your Cold Heart.
I do have Cold Heart. Yeah. Cold Heart's making a bit of a difference for me as well right now. Yeah. So I took on the Finite as the challenge, and obviously Cold Heart coming in with that 4-hitter A1 turned me to drop. Actually turned out to be really, really beneficial for me.
How'd you do in the challenge? Were you top or were you second?
I came second.
Second,
which I was quite pleased with. Did you participate in one already?
I have not, and we haven't quite determined if I'm going to be Ice Golem or Clan Boss.
Okay. Yeah, it's heating up because obviously everyone's starting to get their pools now. Right. And when you think about Clan Boss, well, my Clan Boss team is going to look very different probably in a week from now than it does today. And I think there's a lot of people getting into that sort of space where, there's now a number of epics that they could build out, and, teams are starting to come together. People are starting to progress in a lot of areas of the game. It's quite interesting. Like 2 months, that's not that long playing an account to get to that sort of level of progression. But yeah, I mean, on my team, Mullet Reaver is absolutely flying.
Crushing it. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got over 5,000 points.
I don't even know where that comes from. I have no idea where those points come from.
2,000 points more than I've got.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've played it pretty hard over the last 2 months. I've been pretty active. And yeah, damn, that's it's quite an achievement.
The most surprising thing to me as a free-to-play player who's, I often give the advice, like, don't worry about Platinum Arena. Don't even think about it. Like, you're going to need to be in the game a long time. Not that a free-to-play player can't do it, but you're not going to do it in the first 6 months to a year. Just don't even bother. And we've got two of our challengers in Platinum Arena. That's insane to me. That is incredibly impressive. So yeah, don't think that this is something that anybody can do. You're talking about 2 of the best players and content creators in the game, and they are absolutely crushing that. I don't know how they got there. I honestly don't know how they got there.
I would say the only thing with this type of rating, or this type of work, is definitely for Arena, it's just activity. So I got to Gold 5, and I was in Gold 5 doing fine, and my activity dropped off for a weekend. And now I'm back in Gold 3.
Right.
So it just literally, because Arena is basically broken as soon as you get into Gold for a new player. And it's actually, for me, it's the worst experience in the game for a new player. I just think
absolutely.
As soon as you get into Gold, it's just, I can't really beat anyone. So it's just, how often do you refresh this page and find battles that are actually winnable? And it's people that have set up nothing teams. That's literally the only way you're going to win.
Right.
And that's how these guys have got into plat. So I don't know if you could really call it skill. I don't know, but they've done it. But the fact is, once they get there, is then you find way more people with these nothing teams, and you therefore earn your medals way faster,
Right.
And it means that you can also build your Great Hall a lot quicker and stuff. So, I mean, fair play to them. Like, they've put the work in. It's hard to do, but it's relentlessly being active in the game, which I see a lot of comments of people saying, I can't put that sort of time in to do what you're doing. and that's a fair comment. You know, it's just
it is
all got lives and stuff. So, yeah. I mean, so I guess if we were just to close it off, if you had sort of one more nugget of advice as a free-to-play player, you know, someone who's played the game free-to-play for a long time, and someone who's been in this kind of challenge, you know, what would you say? What would be like the top 2 or 3 things that you say as a free-to-player coming into Raid now? Focus here because it's going to make your sort of longer-term experience more fun in Raid.
Yeah, I have lots of tips. I have endless tips, but some early game tips I would give is 1, don't ignore Arena because you don't like PvP, because Arena is actually PvE. It's not PvP. So you just need to get in there and start grinding up your Great Hall because it's going to affect all of the other areas. So don't ignore Arena. You can't afford to do that. The second thing I would say is faction crypts are actually a great place to focus if you're not doing a challenge account like this, because in the long run, you will get your best gear from the forge materials you get here. Also, this is where you get most of your glyphs, and glyphs are incredibly important as well. So you definitely want to value faction crypts. I've done a video on this before, but a great way to do it is just every day, check who the faction crypt happens to be that day. And if you are grinding up food in the early game, just grind up food from that faction. And then before you turn them into chickens, put them in your faction crypts and even just clear the first 2 or 3 levels and get some forge materials, because that's going to be a huge help.
I basically level stuff up to level 8. So anyone who's just going to be a faction crypt only guy, I've got plenty sitting in my vault. 8, or actually, she's wearing stuff that I would have leveled in the first place before I started getting gear. But generally, it's like sets that make some sense and level 8. But probably the most important thing with any of that level 8 work is every single one of these will be in some form of speed boots, even if it's crap boots that I found along the way. And you know, you put someone in level 8 speed boots, and suddenly they can get through, like you say, the first few levels. And it, like you say, it makes quite a difference.
It does make a difference. And, you know, even those early, like, 1-star glyphs can make a massive difference when you're trying to get your arena team a little bit faster, or you're trying to get your clan boss team a little bit faster. And then I think the last piece of advice, this is probably one of the biggest questions I get, or most frequent questions I get, is how do I choose my next 6-star champion? Or when I do takeovers, you know, you find accounts that are like all spread out and people are like, I can't progress. And so as you're building a roster, what I would suggest, especially for a free-to-play player, is 6-star champions that bring new skills to your roster, rather than 6-starring a champion who brings just an improvement to a skill you already have. You know, unless it's a massive upgrade, unless it's absolutely going from like a C tier champion to an S tier champion, in most cases, you're going to get more value out of building a cleanser that you don't have a cleanser on the roster, or getting a turn meter reducer that you don't have, or getting an AoE stun that you don't have, or getting an ally protector that you don't have, rather than upgrading from a good ally protector to a great ally protector. So, you know, spend the first few months filling all of the roster spots that you need to do as many jobs as possible. And then once you're there, then you can start finding, you know, the upgrades, the value over replacement. Because having 3 great arena nukers is awesome, but that's not, you can only go to gold 5 you're there.
True,
and then, you know, what do you do with the 3rd arena nukers? Like 3v3 is like fine, but you still need a clan boss team, or you still need, you know, a dark fae team or something like that. So spread out the skills. I guess that would be my last tip.
Yeah, that's a cool bit of advice, I think. And I think I probably do that without even thinking about doing that. So, you know, we mentioned I've got Khatun sitting there. Well, she's been on the back burner because I've already got a Golden Reaper that I decided to, you know, to put resources into. I already have my Dithy, therefore Fodbor, who's a good epic, is sitting on the sidelines doing a similar job, but I didn't need 2. And yeah, it's actually it's a great call out. I think it's a great call out, actually. You know, anyone who does that kind of like similar role that is half decent, for me, has become the faction war champion. That, you know, it's going to get me a few levels, but I'm not going to give that champion my best gear, or, you know, really kind of like push a load of resources into them, because ultimately you have to be so careful with who you're going to 6-star and you know, the purpose that person, you know, that champion's going to bring, the role they're going to fill. Yeah, it's cool. Cool bit of advice. Awesome. Well, look, COLRED, thank you so much for coming onto the channel. It's been a pleasure chatting everything free to play. And I guess just lastly, really, make sure you go out and check the video that I've done with COLRED on his channel, and go and check out this kind of like new March Madness that he's doing, because it's a lot of fun. I just one last plug for it. That, talk us through what they're going to be missing if they don't go and check out that video.
Sure, absolutely. First of all, we got to call it Raid Madness. I don't want to get in trouble, but Raid Madness is our tournament. No, not a problem. Not a problem. It's a natural mistake to make. But yeah, it is Raid Madness. It's you really want to get in on it this week, because there will be a point where we have to start the voting. And as soon as the voting starts, you can't make predictions anymore. So that will be starting probably Friday night or Saturday night, I believe. We'll be launching that. So from now until then, you can watch all the content creators do their analysis of the brackets, and then you can fill out your own bracket and join us. So
we'll
have
be
the
able
links
to kind of put their predictions in. Whereabouts is that going to happen?
So predictions should start as soon as your video goes live. So that'll probably be, I don't know when this video is going live, but for us, it will be, I believe, Wednesday around midday Eastern Standard Time in the US. That's UTC -5.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
So thanks so much for having me, Hades. This has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate being on the channel, and you doing a collab with us on our channel. It was a really fun video. I hope people check it out.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, look, thanks for watching the video. Hopefully you learned a few things around free-to-play accounts today. And yeah, we'll catch you in the next one.